Marvel Studios and its employees are having to pay the piper for their woke agenda. We have a report that around 15 employees from Marvel Entertainment and specifically Marvel Studios have been laid off. Before we get into this, I'd like to ask you please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of our future videos here at the Trent Report. Wrote this up over at thatparkplace.com. And this report comes in the wake of an absolute disastrous 2023 for Marvel Studios at the box office. And I think as well on Disney Plus and Hulu on the television side, on the streaming side. Let's get into some of this stuff here. Before we get to the actual report, let's go over just how disastrous 2023 was. The Marvels had at minimum a production budget of $367 million, but that number did not take into effect reshoots that were done in 2023 before the film was released in November. Nevertheless, the film failed to even gross $200 million worldwide at the box office, resulting in hundreds of millions lost by Marvel Studios. Again, usually you have to do a 2.5 times factor for that production budget. And that is your break-even point. So huge loss there for Marvel Studios on the Marvels. On top of the Marvels, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania had an estimated production budget of $200 million and only grossed $463.6 million worldwide. In order for the film to have broken even, which would cover marketing costs as well as the split that theaters take, it needed to gross at least $500 million. The only film that made some profit for Marvel in 2023 was Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. The film grossed $845.4 million worldwide. It had a $250 million production budget, at least estimated, according to the numbers, meaning the film surpassed its break-even point of $625 million. However, the film still fared worse than previous entries in the franchise. First film grossed $770.8 million in 2014, and the second film grossed $869 million in 2017. If you factor in inflation, the first film grossed $992.1 million in 2023 dollars. The second film grossed $1.05 billion in 2023 dollars. So the third film in the franchise did indeed perform worse than the previous two films, showing a decline, I think, in the overall brand of Marvel. Just in general, on top of the losses from Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania and the Marvels. So if you look outside of their box office failures, I think they also failed tremendously on the television side. Loki season 2's debut in 2023 only brought in 446 million minutes viewed. The season 1 debut brought in 731 million minutes viewed, despite Disney Plus having far less subscribers in 2021 compared to 2023. And I'm talking probably around 10 million or more subscribers. They have more now in 2023, or had in 2023, compared to in 2021 when the first season of Loki aired. So huge loss in viewership there between season 1 and season 2. The company's most recent television series was seemingly its worst yet. All 5 episodes of the show, Echo, were released at the same time on both Disney Plus and Hulu. Despite releasing more episodes on a separate streaming service, the show only brought in 731 million minutes viewed in its debut. So the Loki season 1 debut had the same, for just one episode, had the same amount of minutes viewed as all 5 episodes of Echo that was aired on both Disney Plus and Hulu. So remember, Loki was only aired on Disney Plus. So huge disaster. And then if you look in the second week, Echo didn't even make the Nielsen chart. So who even knows how many minutes it got there? Complete and utter disaster, failure. Probably lost a lot of money on that show, given the fact that they probably didn't get any new subscriptions. And they kind of, I think, put it out there just to die. So that kind of recaps the poor performance. You can look at Secret Invasion 2. It did not do very well. I think it was probably in like the 400 million minutes viewed range. Not what they want. It needs to be a lot higher. They need to be getting subscriptions. They need to be ensuring that the people that are subscribing are actually watching that stuff. And that just does not seem to be the case. So now Marvel Studios and Marvel Entertainment are engaging in layoffs. This is a report from The Hollywood Reporter's Aaron Couch and Boris Kitt. The two report that Marvel Studios laid off, quote, around 15 people, including junior level employees in production and development. These layoffs come in the wake of the Walt Disney Company CEO Bob Iger saying during a conference hosted by Morgan Stanley that the output at Marvel had been reduced by the company, and he had personally killed a number of projects across the board at the Walt Disney Company. It's unclear if any of them were at Marvel. We do know they only have one film releasing this year, Deadpool and Wolverine. But this is what Iger said during that conference hosted by Morgan Stanley. He says, you have to kill things you no longer believe in. And that's not easy in this business because either you've gotten started, you have some sunk costs, or it's a relationship with either your employees or with the creative community. So kind of signaling that some of those projects that he might have killed would harm the relationship with his own employees. It's not an easy thing, but you got to make those tough calls. We've actually made those tough calls. We've not been that public about it, but we've killed a few projects already that we just didn't feel were strong enough. He then spoke specifically about Marvel, saying, a lot of people think it's audience fatigue. It's not audience fatigue. They want great films. And if you build it great, they will come. And there are countless examples of that. Some are ours and some are others. Oppenheimer is a perfect example of that. Just a fantastic film. Focus is really important. We reduce the output of Marvel, both number of films they make and the number of TV shows. And that really becomes critical. But I feel good about the team. I feel good about the IP we're making. I talked about a lot of the projects. We look years ahead, really, and it's iterative. Maybe you should be looking short term right now rather than looking years ahead, because I think your years ahead strategy is absolutely not working. You can just kind of see the decline since 2019 that Marvel Studios has faced since Endgame. Interestingly, Iger's also noted he watches a lot of Disney films. He watches them more than 3 times in hopes of trying to improve them after they've been filmed. Doesn't really make any sense to me. I guess he's just kind of trying to do some movie magic and fix things in the editing room rather than maybe fixing them in the script process. But this is what Iger said. Not only do you look at the films you're making, you look at every part of that process, who the directors are, who's being cast, reading scripts. I personally watch films 3 to 5 times with the team and just create a culture of excellence and respect, which is really important with the creative community. Maybe you should try and create a culture of results. Maybe that would be something you should try to achieve, because clearly you're not getting it, and now your employees are suffering for it. Of course, it's never the people like Bob Iger or Kevin Feige or the bigwigs who make these disastrous decisions that have to pay the consequences. It's usually the junior level employees that pay the consequences for the absolutely disastrous decisions that their management makes. And this looks to be the case here. Obviously, I do think, though, that a lot of those junior people are all bought in to the whole woke ideology that Marvel Studios is trying to push. There's a reason why it's called the MCU now. So they got what was coming to them. The chickens have now come home to roost, and these employees are now facing layoffs. And while the report from The Hollywood Reporter claims it's not expected that any more are to come, one can imagine that if Deadpool and Wolverine does not blow the doors off at the box office, I expect that there will probably be more layoffs, more cuts, more reduction in production, because they just can't afford to keep spending the way they are and trying to get the poor results they have been getting, at least over the past couple of years. But let me know what you guys make of this. Let me know what you make of Marvel laying off around 15 of its employees after the disastrous 2023 they had. Let me know in the comments below. Remember to always be charitable, but to always speak the truth.